Alright, so response video to Pyrrho and Hythloday. Oh, a fairly insufferable hour and whatever, and a half. Yeah, first it was a whole big long thing on economics, just going over the same tired crap of setting up two fake models of capitalism, which is managed to some extent to keep the monopolies from getting out of control, and a few other things that are controlled to keep that under control, versus Pyrrho's, let's have the company store, the government store, full of government employees with big fat pensions that don't do any fucking work, which he is an example of, no doubt. But anyway, both are silly models. The model to be strived for is to take out all the negative incentives. So when you're a worker, you put on your worker clothes and work, and when you're a consumer, you put on your I want a good price clothes and ask for a good price. And you always have to balance those two things, and that's all there is. There's no need for owners, okay? Owners don't manage businesses. Some kind of manager does. A person they hire, a worker. So this isn't that complicated. If we're given the choice of a not-for-profit, which doesn't mean employees own it and start writing fine print to get extra days off. No owners, just a company that runs for the purpose of producing. And that is managed by somebody who isn't controlled by the employees and isn't controlled by the consumers. So some kind of balance between employees and consumers seems ideal. And there's accountability, and the company has to be able to sustain itself, and it can't, and it loses its charter to do business. I don't think you could do this really simple, and we've been over this anyway, and over it, and there's no growth in Pyrrho's perspective. Just none. He just makes the same arguments that have been defeated over and over again, versus me, who makes the same arguments over and over again, but they haven't been defeated. So anyway, so that's really what the government should be doing, is putting in the initial financing for not-for-profit businesses. The business would eventually pay back the loan, and even insurance for other businesses' failures. They could even do that. And I'm sure they could outcompete companies that are building huge, giant, fancy buildings and wasting money on yachts and paying exorbitant prices and shareholders and all this other crap. I'm sure they could. So anyway, so enough on that subject. There was just a couple of points here where they were just doing some ragging, both of them, and I didn't care for it, so I'll play this part, and somewhere around here it starts, and then Pyrrho says some stupid things about antinatalism, and I'll finish up with that. The physics subject is sort of interesting, so I do want to get back to that. I'm going to do a video next on that.
And it can't just be like doing math problems for people that don't like it. But is in complexity theory. I don't know if you've looked into complexity theory, but in big O.
Ooh, everything's complex. That's the theory. Yeah. I love when people say this. They have chaos theory, and now they have complexity theory. What does it mean? Oh, that's right. Spirituality.
Notation and stuff. That's all the mathematical proofs based on the Turing machine, which has nothing to do with the Turing test except for Turing is the same dude. Yeah. So there's a lot of things proved about why even given Moore's law.
Proved. He always says proved, proven, proved. Where? What? Cite it.
In 1,000 years, we're not going to solve the game of chess because it's actually complex enough that we can't solve it. Or the traveling salesman problem. We can classify certain kinds of problems and know that we need a revolution in computing, or maybe sometimes a quantum.
Yeah, whatever. A quantum computer. This is all such a crock of shit. Alright, the quantum computer, which depends on some kind of fake notion that everything does everything, and that somehow you can access its everything knowledge. I mean, that's really what they're going to try to build a computer, okay, where all the computing done is done theoretical. It's theoretical computing. Yes. It's because all the photons are all going in a different direction every time you interrupt one of them. They make a different decision. You can have them do all the computing in the imaginary space of nowhere, and somehow they'll come up with the answer and bring it back to you from the nowhere. This is such a lie.
Computer, but with a Turing machine, we're not going to be able to solve certain problems in the life of the universe. And by solve, when you solve a game, you know, that means you can look all the way to the end, always choose a move that has a winning result, and you will win. So, you know...
Yeah, right. Like you're going to be able to synthetically roll dice, actually. You know, actually know exactly every... the energy equation for every interaction the dice has as it tumbles. Oh yeah, that isn't going to be possible. Wow, isn't that brilliant to figure out? That's not going to be possible. Well, guess what? Who the fuck cares anyway?
No game, no computer has to lose at checkers.
What, that's a great conversation. I actually want your advice on some things related to that, but just to pull it back to the quantum, what do you think? I've tried. I don't know whether Inmendham's going to pick up the pawn or whatever they're saying is to say, okay, we disagree about the two slit. How about entanglement?
Oh, yeah, I mean, really, what's the fucking point? If you can't get fucking the two-slit thing right, if you can't concede that maybe the physicists should be looking at the matter the photons are interacting with, you know, instead of presuming the matter is somehow a steel wall with straight edges and photons are, you know, but what's so complicated here to argue that, you know, if we can't get that, then why should we even talk about some other phenomenon that only exists because of even a more complex experiment? So here you have one experiment that's relatively simple that no one wants to talk about, the aperture of the focus. Nobody wants to talk about the distances. Nobody wants to talk about how much of the light actually gets through the two slits compared to the amount of light that goes into the two slits. Like, shouldn't we have some sort of evidence that some of these photons aren't getting absorbed? Some? You know, in the right percentages. I mean, what is the percentage of the banding? I mean, how much of the light actually gets to the bands? You know, these are not unimportant questions to have resolved. There's an awful lot in the two-slit experiment to be resolved, and you want to jump to entanglement, which I don't even think is a fucking subject anyway. I mean, Einstein said it pretty clearly, and I'll explain some of it in my video, but what's the point? He basically just says, look, the fucking electrons are created as left-handed and right-handed gloves. So there, the conversation's over. Yeah, they're always opposite because they're created that way. So I could just do that with a spring spinning. And if you have a narrow center and two springs that grow out of the same spin, and they break off at the center, well, they're going to have opposite spins. They're going to be identical except opposite, because one's a left and one's a right. Ooh, there we go. Problem solved somehow. Miracle. Amazing. But yeah, I didn't know that was your agenda. Okay, you just say we disagree on the two-slit experiment, and your disagreement was what? Well, do you think it's a conspiracy? Huh? No, I think it's stupid for physicists to get lost in this fucking quantum nonsense. Not the quantum mechanics, but the obviously probability is a fact of ignorance. All right, can we agree on that? The probability only exists as a symptom of ignorance. It's only when you're ignorant of a circumstance that you have to rely on probability or statistical analysis. Yeah, there's only inevitable. And there's inevitable, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation about any other fluid, any other substance on Earth. We wouldn't sit there and say, well, when we turn around, like say if I poke a hole in a bag of water, when I turn around the water isn't dripping anymore. Fuck.
Yeah, you know,
He won't.
you won't pick that up.
Yeah, what a lie. What a fucking lie. I'm not afraid of beating the shit out of either one of you fucking little weasels. Alright? I won't. What challenge by one of you assholes am I not willing to pick up? Alright? I'm just saying logically, what fucking sense does it make? You can't agree on apple, and you want to fucking have a conversation about filet mignon sauteed in bamboo sauce. What's the fucking point if we can't agree on what an apple is?
Reminds me
Because that's the other test. When they say, you know, that's old news, the two-slit. Where it's at now, that really proves the two-slit, is the entanglement principle. To my...
Yeah, to your what? To your insanity. Sorry, I'm sorry. How does the more complex experiment prove the simpler experiment? I don't see how there's any validation of the two-slit in any entanglement experiments, because none of those experiments are real. You can't fucking do anything to disprove the fact that they're just created left and right.
You like it. So you've got to really, you've got to move on and say, all right, everything they've said, if you can't win his argument with the two-slit, you just...
Yeah, I can't win what argument? You didn't give me any counter-argument to a single fucking thing I said. What was your counter-argument to my argument that the aperture and the slit are creating the phenomenon? What's your counter-argument? Physicists don't say so? Is that it? Have they made a counter-argument somewhere? Have they explained how, yes, matter really is steel walls? Okay, the matter that the photons is interacting with is not really matter. Okay, it's, electrons. The photons aren't interacting with electrons when they're passing through the slits. Is that the argument? When they make an aperture is so small that only an electron can get through it? One electron, that they aren't somehow forcing the issue of interaction with the matter, with the other electrons? Where have the physicists done that? Oh, they haven't. That's where they have done it. Nowhere.
Moving on, so, well, yeah. What about entanglement, man?
Well, I don't know, but that would be my prediction. But you reminded me of something else.
Your predictions aren't worth shit. Your fucking philosophy ain't worth shit. Your fucking personality certainly ain't worth shit. So I don't think there's a single fucking thing to like about you anymore. Not a fucking thing.
On from that was on that when I had said that you've grown a lot and become much better informed, and not to say that I know, but I just, and you...
Not to say that I know. Yeah, well, I happen to be an expert on whether you're grown up or not. Yeah, so now they spend a half an hour with Hythloday going through some protracted goddamn explanation. Oh, well, that stings a bit. That's what's the word he uses? Itches, stings, whatever, that, oh yeah, that smells a little bit like crap when somebody tells you how you've grown. Yeah, like you know what a grown-up is. Like this fucking idiot knows anything about growth. Fucking turd. So anyway, we'll move along to somewhere around here. Oh, God. I really hate people. Probably have to go further back. I just don't want to go any further back than I have to. These people are really annoying.
It's a good concept to talk about growth and this, that, and the other in an abstract sense or in a non-personal sense. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been called arrogant plenty times, but. And I'm always trying to wrestle with what's perceived of arrogance. Sometimes it just seems like being, of a strong personality, of confidence to put your opinions in the circle seems to get that tag. But I would say that there's a when you praise somebody, there's a feature of it of condescension, and condescension is
But I think
would normally could bring about either the accusation of condescension.
Ugh, jeez. So he went on half an hour like that. Just this tedious explanation of a simple thing that when you tell somebody else, that oh, you've got it now, or something like that. Just this there's something intrinsically and fundamentally patronizing and insulting when you claim to be to know better
you know, or arrogant, you know.
I just rather dive into that, but I don't disagree with you. But what about this example? For example, antinatalism in my interaction with Gary, separate those two or one and a half things. I believe that my interaction with the antinatalists, as well as other people arguing with them, has caused growth in antinatalism, an idea I disagree with and have...
Yeah, whatever. You know, again, this is hilarious, right? Yes, you haven't made a rational argument. The development of the, you know, fundamental philosophy, certainly Benatar didn't write his book as a response to these great Pyrrho arguments. Yeah, it's just such a bizarre claim that he had something to do with it, something to do with us recognizing it as a field of philosophy. I mean, just so pretentious. When his contribution has been nothing. He hasn't sat there and been a decent foil, even if that's what he was pretending to be. So let's go to his brilliant argument, which is just hilarious, right? It's a personal choice. Okay, right? I mean, there you go. Can you know, this is advancing the argument for us. Is to explain to these whatever. I mean, like we haven't done this before. Procreation is doing something with your own bodies. Do you not think the egg is part of the woman's body? Well, what did she do to earn control of eggs? I mean, sperm are a part of my body. They have one mission. If I'm going to be natural, okay, the mission is to get my sperm into as many women as possible. I've been given the weapon to do it with. Yeah, so you're not undoing the rape analogy here at all. You're just giving nature as the... Nature will be your guide. Nature tells you what your agenda is. If nature gave you eggs, then you should get them fertilized. Nature says so. I mean, it's just... you know, I think it is, right? So he asks a ludicrous straw man red herring of a question. Do you think eggs are part of a woman's body? Yeah, I think my fist is part of my body. Doesn't mean I have a right to throw it any old place I want to. Do you think building nests is a responsibility of a parent? Fuck you, asshole. Rape involves another person that is not potential, currently non-existing person. Currently non-existing person. So you know, it doesn't even say that right? Rape involves another person that is not potential, currently non-existent person. That is not a potential, currently non-existent person. I might as well done that with a ... or something. The smile is a bit offensive. I don't know what that refers to. I don't see a smile in the previous post, but whatever. So what? Like, we haven't made these arguments, so I can kill people in the future. As long as they don't exist now, I can build a bomb that blows up in the future, and it's all okay because they currently don't exist. I mean, we don't know that procreation, that the very act of procreation to be successful, you actually have to create somebody, so it's automatically about something that's not going to be just potential. It has to be actual if it's going to be procreation. You can't actually accomplish procreation until you create an actual human being. Okay, they don't call miscarries procreation. Okay, it's not procreation. It's unsuccessful, attempted procreation. Okay, you can attempt procreation all you want. I don't want you to succeed. Successful procreation is where you fail. So you can attempt to, you know, pollute the environment all you want. As long as you don't succeed, it's fine. Your argument is empty, vacant mush. You know, an appeal to nature as the authority. Fuck you. If you drive, you are risking harming another. Well, yeah, that's why we qualify drivers, so we minimize the risk, don't we? Yeah, and it produces a necessary functions, more necessary than the frivolous activity of biological experimentation. No one has to do biological experiments. If you're going to go on living, so again, this is another, you know, go on living thing. Somehow making babies is something you have to do to live. You may stumble and harm another. If you think no risks are worthwhile, well, see, no one said no risks are worthwhile. They're saying that preposterous risk for silly gains, which are selfish, that makes no sense. There's no argument here that no risks are worthwhile. So again, liar. You're just putting words that no one said in their mouth. Liar. What? We can't deal with a liar's argument? What? These liar arguments are somehow advancing our cause or advancing our argument or making our argument better because we have to waste our time communicating with liars? Yeah. Your idea of negligence is different from mine. Well, this isn't about negligence. This is about deliberate, willful disregard for the welfare of another. So that's all it is. You're an arrogant, selfish fuck. You'll take what you want, and you will not account for your victims. You will run them over. Okay? You're a victim creator. You're a victim maker. You're a victim neglector. You're an evil, malicious, motherfucking, selfish cunt. Period. You take no account. You make no account. You say, my frivolous ambitions are worth it. The frivolous ambition of complete fried spaghetti eating morons is worth it. Somehow you think they have a right to decide for their children that they will live in shit. To born them, to have them in shit. Okay, because their standards are to be respected. Because you think your idiotic standards should be respected. You just plain motherfucking suck. I wish I never had the misfortune of interacting with such a fucking small-minded, selfish cunt who would make such a stupid argument. Women have eggs, don't they? The spaghetti eaters would make an argument like that. You fucking idiot. But yeah, the spaghetti eaters are spiritual too. So, yeah, it makes sense now. You really are a dumb motherfucker. So anyway, I can only despise him more. Yeah, there's just no reclamating this. You know, we did have a whole conversation about it. Let's, you know, again for context, you can watch this video, okay? Just count how many times he says "but." You know, where he says, yes, it's right-handed, but it's definitely possibly left-handed. Just count how many, just somebody go ahead and do it. Count how many fucking times he says he agrees with a statement and then he just sits there and says why he doesn't agree with it. I mean, you can't talk out of two sides of your fucking ugly dumb face as much as this fucker. And this whole idea that, oh yeah, wow, it's just great that everybody just do whatever the fuck they want. Well, except they shouldn't be unspiritual about it. Well, you know, maybe their definition of spirituality is different, so then they have the right to have a different definition of spirituality, so then they can be different. I mean, it's just convoluted, wishy-washy, mishy-mushy bullshit. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, there's a rude comment here, and I'm almost like, yeah, well, that's about all he's got. It's about what he deserves. So anyway, yeah, this is enough of a video. This is just such a waste of time. You know, the appeal to nature is a dead argument. If you know anything about evolution, you know anything about biological science, it's an appeal to shit. Shit. Fuck. Anyway, until next time.